Isaiah 40, 3 through 5, adapted. A voice cries out, "In the wilderness, prepare the way of the Holy One. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. Then the glory of the great mystery shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of God has spoken."
I'm glad the mouth of God has spoken, because that's the voice we really need to hear. The grace that awaits us. In thinking about speaking today, I want to keep it fairly short, because we'll have in our time that is usually devoted to the sermon also some time for contemplation. This passage from Isaiah, it comes from the later part of the book where Isaiah is speaking to the people who have been in exile in Babylon for 40 years and saying it's time to go home, it's time to go back to Jerusalem. And they're remembering the route coming over when they were taken into exile 40 years before, a rough and hilly and difficult path. At least those who were alive at that time are remembering that. But some who are being asked to return have never been to Jerusalem. It's been the story of where we're from. And the people know that when they get there, it won't be the way it was. They have changed, and the city has changed, because much of it was destroyed at the time when they were taken into exile. But I landed, as I contemplated that passage, not so much on the history of it, but on some of the symbolism I hear there, which is that when we are making way for peace, for God, for this holy mystery, that there may be much in the way inside of us that is having a difficult time allowing that peace to come to us. And so I brought for us some Jan Richardson, a prayer of confession, which is one of the Christian rituals of preparing ourselves to experience the holy. And here's her prayer. In the center of ourselves, you placed the power of choosing. Forgive us the times we have given that power away, when we have sold our birthright for that which does not satisfy our souls. And so in your wisdom, may our yes be truly yes, and our no be truly no, that we may touch with dignity and love with integrity, and know the freedom of our own choosing all our days. Forgive us, God, when we live our lives within the lines, when we say, this is the shape of our work, this is the boundary of our habitation, these are the limits to our love, these are the lines of our vision, these and none other. Draw us beyond our patterns into yours, shifting, moving, curving, spiraling, many-colored, ever-changing, stretching, pushing, challenging, renaming, unsettling, disturbing, casting forth, and welcoming home. Also, in our Christian tradition, we have, in our Protestant words, we call it words of assurance. And Richardson expresses these words in this way. She calls it the hardest blessing. If we cannot lay aside the wound, then let us say it will not always bind us. Let us say the damage will not eternally determine our path. Let us say the line of our life will not always travel along the places we are torn. Let us say that forgiveness can take some practice, can take some patience, can take a long and struggling time. Let us say that to offer and receive the hardest blessing, we will need the deepest grace. That to forgive the sharpest pain, we'll need the fiercest love. That to release the ancient ache, we will need new strength for every day. Let us say the wound will not be our final home. That through it runs a road, a way we would not have chosen, but on which we will finally see forgiveness, so long practiced, coming toward us, shining with the joy so well deserved. Thinking about the images that have come to us this morning, images of exile ending, of grace returning, of confession and forgiveness. We'll take a few minutes here to practice something that Christians sometimes call centering prayer. You may know this practice by other names and from other traditions. And it's a practice in which we allow ourselves to be still. To be still. And to notice. To notice our breathing, which Scripture tells us is how God awakened us. And as we seek awakening, as we seek the presence of the holy, as we seek the company of the holy, as we cross the hills and the mountains, we may find a word comes to us, a word that speaks to our soul, that we allow ourselves to come back to when we find our minds drifting to the side, leaving the path. One word often suggested is the word peace, and given the theme of the service and the song we'll be concluding with, if you don't have a word that you use in this kind of prayer, I suggest peace. I invite you to practice peace as a word to return to. So we'll have a few minutes here, and for those of us who practice this kind of prayer often, those few minutes will seem way too short. And for those of us who haven't practiced in this way before, these minutes may seem like eternity. And when they seem like eternity, we just bring ourselves back to our breath and to our word of peace. And for those whose minds just jump all over the place anyway, again, when we notice ourselves leaving the path, we bring ourselves back to the breath and to our word of peace. So let us begin. May we all know the blessing of peace. It's a moment when you can slowly draw yourself back to the circle, to the light, open your eyes, and welcome. Welcome. I believe we'll have an anthem, Telemann Fantasy.